Hi, everyone. John Michael Coppola here, and welcome to the Chicago Theater Makers Podcast, where we chat with the actors, directors, choreographers, designers, producers, music directors, lyricists, playwrights, and all the artists who make the Chicago area theaters come alive. We're so excited to have you here with us today. But before we get started, we just want to remind you to please like, subscribe to, and share this podcast with your friends and colleagues who you think would appreciate the conversations we're having. We'd be so grateful for your support in this way so we can continue to bring these stories for years to come. Thanks again for being here. And now, curtain up on today's episode. On today's episode, we're joined by company members from Lifeline Theatre's production of Jacob Marley's Christmas Carol. Playwright Tom Mula recently retired as an associate professor at Columbia College Chicago's theater department, but has been a Chicago actor, director, and playwright for more than 45 years. After 7 seasons, that's over 400 performances, playing the role of Scrooge in Goodman Theatre's perennial A Christmas Carol, Mula wrote the novel Jacob Marley's Christmas Carol in 1994, which quickly became a Chicago Tribune bestseller. The award-winning play version premiered in 1998 at the Goodman. Since then, it was broadcast nationally on NPR for many seasons and has received over 400 productions worldwide. Some of Mr. Mula's acting credits include Hot Mikado, King Lear, Richard III, and another solo turn in the Circus of Dr. His directing credits include Jeff nominations for Porch and A Life and the world premiere of Larry Shue's last play, Wenceslas Square. Tom has spent 26 summers at Peninsula Players in Door County, Wisconsin, where he has directed multiple productions, including Amadeus, Lion in Winter, and Red Herring, among others, and appeared there in Heroes, Art, Cabaret, The Mystery of Irma Vep, and many, many farces. Phil Timberlake, who is the sole actor in this production, repeats his Jeff-nominated performance this year. Previous Lifeline acting roles for which he was either nominated or won Jeff Awards include Soon I Will Be Invincible, Pride and Prejudice, Neverwhere, Busman's Honeymoon, and The Two Towers. At Lifeline, he also coached dialects for Treasure Island, Strong Poison, and A Room with a View, and throughout Chicago, he has coached dialects at the Goodman, American Players Theater, and was the resident voice and dialect coach at First Folio Theater. Other Chicago acting credits include roles with First Folio, Apple Tree, Power Tap, and Shakespeare's Motley Crew. Phil has taught actors for over 20 years, most recently as the head of voice and speech at the theater school at DePaul University. Jacob Marley's Christmas Carol is running now through December 21st. You can get your tickets at lifelinetheater.com or simply click the link in our show notes. I hope you enjoy my conversation with Tom Mula and Phil Timberlake. Now let's go to the top of the show. Hi, Tom. Hi, Phil. How are you both today?
Great.
Doing well. Thank you. Doing well.
Excellent. Thank you so much for joining me here on the podcast. I'm really excited to have you both on. So we always ask our guests the very same question at the very top of the show, and that is to please tell our listeners first where you grew up, and next a little bit about your background and your training, and then finally finish up with your first theater experience. And Phil, why don't we start with you?
Sure. Yeah. So I grew up in Michigan City, Indiana, so Northwest Indiana. Where both my parents were teachers. My father was a music teacher. My mother taught home economics, and so I grew up doing a lot of musicals in high school, things like that. And in terms of my training, I went to Purdue University as an honors chemistry pre-med student.
Oh, wow.
And we see how that turned out. Once I took an acting class for non-majors, it was kind of the end of the line for anything else. The end of the beginning. The end of the beginning, right. And so there were some really great faculty members there and some great students I worked with. And so then I moved to Chicago. A lot of them were coming to Chicago after that. And then the other bits of my training would be that I spent a Fulbright year doing experimental voice work with the Roy Hart Voice Center in France.
Oh, yeah.
And which led to my interest in teaching. And so then I got an MFA in voice and speech pedagogy from Virginia Commonwealth University, which is where I first did Jacob Marley's Christmas Carol. And then had a job out at Northern Illinois, and then I was at DePaul for almost 20 years teaching there.
Nice.
So that's kind of my journey in that way. My first theatrical experience if I remember correctly, was in second grade doing No Snakes in Ireland, which was about St. Patrick. And I believe I made the snake out of paper. And I have my distinct memory of it was being off stage, which basically meant being in the doorway of the classroom and sliding this snake out, and the audience response. So actually, my first memory of being a theater maker was actually being off stage and hearing the audience. So that's my story.
Should have had your home economics mom help you make the snake if she hadn't. Maybe she did. Who knows? But I tell you what, home economics was one of my favorite classes in high school. And I don't know that they even teach it anymore, but I think they need to bring it back. We need people to know how to.
I wish I had taken it. I wish I had taken that. I wish I had taken shop.
Oh, I loved shop classes too. Wood shop, metal shop. Again, there are very few schools that I think offer that anymore. I know that Evanston High School, they have an entire trades curriculum where I think they build like a mini house with the kids by the end of the year, and they do all the carpentry and the plumbing and the roofing. I mean, the trades are, I don't want to say they're dying, but they are in need of skilled labor. And I think it's fantastic to teach kids that. I wish that they did it more. So, Mr. Mula, why don't you inform us about your background, your history, and your first theater experience?
I grew up in Monticello, Illinois, which is a tiny little farming town. It was 3,000 people when I was growing up, 20 miles away from Champaign-Urbana. And my dad was the art teacher in the high school, and my mom was a librarian. And my first theatrical experience was my mom would take me to see the Children's Theater at the University of Illinois in Champaign. And I still remember two productions. I remember the production of Land of the Dragon and Rapunzel. And I remember that at the end of Rapunzel, the witch was turned into a tree. And she did this wonderful transformation where her long gray wig fell off, revealing her brown student hair. And I thought, oh, that was so magical. I realized later, probably it was a mistake. Her wig fell off. but it was theater a magical moment for me, and boy, that stayed with me. And after that, this seemed to be something I was always interested in. I was writing plays in third grade.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, isn't that crazy? And then I went to the big city. I went to Champaign-Urbana to go to school, and I was there at a great time. Robert Falls was there at the same time, and Stuart Oken and Jason Brett were there at the same time. Alan Rosen, there was a Fred Rubin, a lot of people that went on to have significant professional careers. So it was a great time to be there.
Wow, how fabulous. You started so young writing plays.
Crazy. It makes no sense. I remember.
What were some of your early writings about back then? Do you remember?
I remember Cinderella. I wrote a Cinderella that we did in third grade, and I gave myself the best part of the fairy godmother.
You sure did.
And I was really pissed off that the one of the stepsisters was actually really good, and she was like upstaging me, and I was pissed off about that.
Give her the hook.
Yep.
So now you both have a parent that was in the arts. Would you say that they were sort of your main influences for pursuing this path, or were there other people that helped you along the way?
Well, I was always attracted to the fantastic. And Alistair Sim, in his performance of Christmas Carol, was foundational in my life. We would watch that on Channel 3 and every Christmas Eve. And this wonderful, big, theatrical, truthful but big performance always moved me, and it was very funny too. He got all of Scrooge's laughs, so that was a big influence. And another big influence was Forrest J. Ackerman, who wrote Famous Monsters of Filmland magazine, which was this magazine that came out before anybody had VCRs or videos. And so weren't able to watch these movies when we wanted to. And so this magazine exposed us to those and exposed us to Forrest J. Ackerman exposed us to the literature. Lovecraft and Poe and Mary Shelley and Bram Stoker. So that's a tremendously big influence in my life.
And how it impacted you in the way of your writing or in the way of your acting or both?
It was an interest, and it led to everything. It led to I read a ton, and which of course affects your writing. And I learned to be a makeup artist. Dick Smith published a Monster Makeup Handbook, which was a side gig for me for a long time when I was just starting out.
Had no idea.
So it was kind of a doorway to so many things, and so many of the things that I've done that have really satisfied me as an artist have been fantastic.
I had no idea about the makeup artist side of you. We see each other socially all the time, but that's never come up in conversation.
Yeah, it was a side gig. My dad was an artist. I had a lot of art background, and I was interested in it. So I was doing, Hunchback of Notre Dame and werewolves and stuff in my bedroom as a teenager. Wow. And then learned how to work with foam in college, and ended up supporting myself a little bit. Another tributary of income.
Yeah.
When you're getting started. Yeah.
How about you, Phil?
Yeah, I think that because my father was a music teacher and my mother loved music too, our house was full of music. And so that was a huge part of my growing up, and led to me doing musicals and so forth. And then a lot of other influences in high school. Are the director, Stan Holcraft and Cheryl Holcraft. They really took the work seriously, which made a difference in my life. And then when I was at Purdue, one of my main mentors, Maria Lowry, I've kind of been following her path along the way through to voice work and experimentation. So
now you both are accomplished actors, but you're also accomplished teachers. What made you want to go into teaching? And Phil, why don't we toss it back over to you?
Sure. Well, I mean, being a child of teachers, as I'm sure Tom will attest, you're thinking about teaching a lot in school. I think one of the first experiences I had was kind of helping other people with their work in class. And I had a very talented math teacher, Byron Tilden, who actually at one point saw me working with somebody, and he said, you'd be a good math teacher. And so I kind of had this idea that teaching might be a part of what I did at some point. But it wasn't really until I'd spent my time in France at the Roy Hart Voice Center, which was, and then come back to Chicago, and people would be like, well, what was this crazy voice work you did? And I'd be like, I'm not sure I can describe it, but if we can, find a piano in a room, we might be able to do some. And so I just started to find that, actually, I can kind of be present and listen and help people move forward in exploring their voices. And then that led to me, well, maybe I'll offer some lessons and maybe I'll do some workshops. And then that led to me then studying it in a little more seriousness when I did my MFA in voice and speech pedagogy. So that was kind of my way into teaching.
Fascinating. So do you teach voice for singers as well, or just voice work for actors?
Well, I definitely teach voice as expression. So people who want to sing as a means of expressing themselves through their voices, I'm definitely on board for that. But I don't teach the specific aesthetics of musical theater or opera or bel canto or things like that. But anybody who wants to explore their voice, I'm all in.
Gotcha. Thanks for that clarification. And Tom, teaching, is that something that you always had on the horizon, or is something you fell into?
I always used to say I wanted to be an artist, not teach artists. But what happened was a friend of mine who was teaching makeup at Columbia College got some professional gigs and needed somebody to sub her classes. And I went in there and subbed a few classes and thought, oh, this is fun. I really enjoy this. And so when she went on to when her career took her away from teaching, I stepped in and picked up her classes, and I taught makeup for probably 5 or 6 or 7 years. But at that time, I was still working as an actor and director in Chicago. And at one point, Sheldon Patinkin ran Chicago, Columbia College at Chicago, and he wanted to have artists teaching. So he brought us in and solicited us. And so I went into his office one day and said, Sheldon, I'm getting a little tired of teaching makeup. Would you mind if I taught an acting class? Oh, finally. Oh, good idea. And and so I started teaching acting and eventually also directing and also playwriting. So I stopped teaching makeup after a while. You have to teach makeup. You have to teach ABC over and over again. Okay, this is a shadow. This is a highlight. This is how you blend. This is a hard edge. You teach all that stuff over and over again. It got a little tiresome.
Sure.
But the acting is always fresh. You're always dealing with new personalities and helping them to understand what that means and how to communicate that to an audience and learning yourself as a teacher how to communicate those ideas to them. Always fresh, never boring.
I bet theater in and of itself is a living, breathing thing every performance. So I imagine that teaching is very much the same. No 2 days are the same.
Exactly.
What are some of the challenges of teaching and also some of the more rewarding aspects of teaching? And Tom, will continue with you.
Communication is the challenge. Everybody listens and hears things differently. So to get them to understand what you're trying to say is a challenge. But the reward is you can actually see that light bulb go off above their heads. It's a wonderful thing to see. And I had one student that I had him in class for like 3 years, and he never got it. He was always just an okay actor and always showing us how it would be. And I said, I finally, stop showing us, just do the damn thing. He said, what? You want me to do it? Yes, please, just do it. Stop showing it to us. And the light bulb as he was a senior, the light bulb finally went off, and it was like night and day. All of a sudden, and it's like that for so many of us who teach acting, and we've all probably had that experience learning acting, where you finally learn it's not about showing a picture of how it would look if you're sad or happy or anything. It's about allowing yourself to really be there and just do it for a little while.
Yeah.
It's a big deal, but very gratifying to see that light bulb go off.
Sure, I bet. How about you, Phil?
Yeah, I mean, very similar. It's really the students. You have, helping the students grow as artists and people, and you see that happen sometimes in a moment, but also the long-term part of it. So I spent most of my teaching in a conservatory at DePaul, and so the students, you see them grow over 3 years, 4 years, and that's just really gratifying to see somebody move forward like that, and to be able to be a part of doing that. And then the challenge, I think one of the challenges to speak about the conservatory is that it moves people together in a cohort, regardless of who's in the cohort and what they need next in the next moment. And so sometimes finding, well, how do you work with all the students where they are at and what they really need when everybody kind of has to be moving forward at the same pace. That was a big challenge. And now that I'm out of the institution, teaching privately, I'm really realizing that, yes, I have a person in front of me, and we can move at whatever pace we want to move, because it's what are you interested in? What do you want to work on? What can I contribute to your learning and growth as an artist right here in this moment?
Yeah.
The next time. It's quite different and quite fulfilling.
I never thought about the challenge of a whole cohort of students that you're moving through the process, hopefully all at the same rate of speed. But Tom, in the case of your struggling student, how do how do you manage that when people are advancing so far, and then you've got this guy who sounded like he maybe gave you a little bit of consternation to really move him up to the level of his cohort? Like, how do you manage that?
Well, we didn't have cohorts at Columbia. We had the students would sign up for classes, and so it was always a different mix. And there's always, in terms of acting, there's always a certain amount of individual instruction.
I see.
One of the things that I found really meaningful was teaching both acting, but also teaching, directing and playwriting, was to realize for myself, and when you teach, you learn. You teach. They teach you so much. I didn't learn what I really thought about acting until I had to teach it. I didn't. In the course of teaching, I came to realize something I had not realized consciously, which was that we all have something special to offer. We all have something individual, and that's the art. As an artist, we are offering our individual opinions, our personal way of looking at the world, what's important to us, how we feel about this, and to encourage students to learn that and realize that and bring that to share. And that's a wonderful thing to see. And some of my favorite students that have gone on and are working outside now, what I see them doing is really realizing that their job is to express themselves, that they have permission to express themselves, that we want them to express themselves in their own individual way. That's very, very satisfying to see.
Yeah. Individuality is really, I think, one of the keys of success, because nobody wants to
for artists. What else is there? Yeah,
exactly. So I want to talk about Jacob Marley's Christmas Carol. Of course, it's the show that Phil is going to be performing single-handedly at Lifeline. Tom, what gave you played Ebenezer Scrooge at Goodman for many years. So what gave you the idea to look at this story from Jacob Marley's perspective, if you will? What gave you the idea? And for people who are unfamiliar with it, maybe give us a little bit of a primer about what Jacob Marley's Christmas Carol actually is.
Like I mentioned, Christmas Carol was always a foundational myth for me and very important to me as a human. And I first played Jacob Marley when I was 14 in that little theater on the square in Sullivan, Illinois, in my neighbor Jim Allman's tire chains. Yeah. And so I was always associated with the story, and Bill Norris was the original Scrooge at the Goodman, and he was a good friend and just a wonderful actor. If there was a long time when he was the best actor in Chicago, and that was tremendously encouraging. Another short guy. I'm a 5'6" actor, and Bill Norris was 5'6", but he was the best actor in Chicago for a long time. And he played Scrooge there for 12 years at the Goodman. And then when he finally decided to step down, there were auditions, and I thought, oh, I'm too young. I was only 41. Too young to do this. But I auditioned and had a series of really good auditions and got the part. And so I played Scrooge at the Goodman for the next 7 seasons. And while that was happening, the first year, my friend Terry McCabe, who's a big deal director here in town, ran City Lit Theater for a long time, brought his daughter Hazel, who was probably 6 or 8, to see a matinee, and we went out and had lunch afterwards. And Hazel she's eating her French fries and she's dipping them in ketchup, and she's saying, I think Marley got a raw deal, because he arranges for Scrooge to be visited by these ghosts and stuff, but he has to clank around in his chains forever. And I thought, she just like crystallized an idea that I had always had, that Marley's fate was very sad, that he didn't have Scrooge's possibility of redemption in Dickens. And that incubated for a while. And a year or two later, I realized that it was starting to come to me as a writer and starting to demand to be written. And I knew that if I didn't write, I knew that the idea was floating around in the whatever it is.
Yeah.
And that if I didn't write it, somebody else would.
Uh-huh.
And so I got to work. And I worked on it, writing it for about a year, on and off. And the premise of the story is that it's the same story as Scrooge's redemption, but it's told from Marley's point of view, and he's much more involved in Scrooge's redemption. And of course, in the course of saving Scrooge, Marley has changed also. So it was very important to me to not parody, not send up Dickens, because I was so reverent about the piece. And that I wanted Jacob Marley's Christmas Carol to do the same thing that Dickens' Christmas Carol does, to remind us that there's a possibility of change, that even for the worst of us, a possibility of change and doing better. Huh. So that's where the story came from. And again, I've had a really blessed, lucky life. And while I was doing Scrooge, it would have been 97, probably 97. Or no, it was 94. So my fourth year in, I wanted to try out the Jacob Marley's Christmas Carol. And so I asked the Goodman if I could do a staged read, or just a reading of the piece on a night off on Monday night, and as a benefit for Season of Concern. And Goodman said, sure, fine. And so we did it, and it performed very well. The laughs all landed. People were attentive for the whole damn thing. And I was lucky. My friend Terry McCabe brought Kathy O'Malley, who was a radio personality at the time, and was also a writer at the Tribune. And she wrote a review of it, this golden, glowing, raving review of it.
Wow.
And I was able to use that review in the Tribune to as to open the doors to publishing. And my friend Nicole Hollander, who I'd done a show with before, she read it and she called me up, and she was crying. She was crying when she called me up, and I said, well, her opinion meant so much to me. I wasn't expecting a favor, but I said, would you mind passing it on to your editor? And she said, oh, happy to. And so she passed it on to her editor, and he did not pick it up, but the guy who replaced him did. So I did the stage reading of Jacob Marley's Christmas Carol. Would have been December of 94. The book was published in 95.
Wow.
It's a fairy tale. It's a fairy tale. Totally spoiled me. I expected all my writing experiences to be like that. None of the other ones ever were, but
sure.
But that one was. And somebody at the Tribune liked me, and it was sold widely here in Chicago. And at that time, the Tribune was still publishing their Chicago bestsellers, a list of the 10 books that sold well in Chicago. For that 1 week, they listed 11 bestsellers, and Jacob Marley's Christmas Carol was number 11. So
fabulous.
Again, I don't know if Kathy O'Malley did that or somebody else, but it was very gratifying. It was a lovely experience. And then sorry, this is really long.
That's okay.
Doing Scrooge is work. And you have to do the Dark Night of the Soul if you're going to be honest and go there. You have to do the Dark Night of the Soul 8 times a week, and for student matinees. So Goodman piles them on around Christmas time, because that's when everybody wants to see it. So you would sometimes, one time we went 14 performances without a day off.
Oh.
And that's grueling and emotionally taxing.
Yeah.
So one morning at 10 in the morning, I was sobbing in front of my grave downstage center. And I kind of pulled away and I went, Tom, this may not be healthy.
Way to stay in the moment, Tom.
Well, this is the performance, but I'm just kind of, and that started me thinking, well, Jacob Marley's Christmas Carol performs pretty well, and it's really fun to do. And so I thought about it for a while, and then I decided I wanted to try to do that because I had already done a one-man show of Circus of Dr. Lau. Again, a very fantastic piece by Charles G. Finney. Wonderful piece. And so I knew that format could work. And so Steve Scott and I worked on it for a few months to see if we could make it work and whether we liked it or not and stuff. And we both did. And so we approached the Goodman and said, you interested? And they said, sure. They were thinking, oh, hey, 2 cash cows and not just one.
Yeah.
Well, Jacob Marley's Christmas Carol was never a big cash cow for them, but they did it for 2 seasons. And that's what got me into performing it and crystallizing it as a play script. I knew that not many people would have the interest in doing it as a one-man piece. So I wrote it also as a 4-man piece. But personally, I like the one-man piece the best because, and Phil, I know you've had this experience. You're doing magic. You're talking about magical things. There are ghosts. There are spirits. There are things change, and you do it with no props, and you do it with no music. I had music, but you do it with a wonderful light setup. So it's a radio play. So the whole play takes place in the audience's mind, which is so magical.
Yeah.
And the dragon you imagine is going to be better than anything that Hollywood can give you.
Sure.
And so I think the one-person version of Jacob Marley's Christmas Carol is the strongest way of doing it. And Phil does a terrific job. It's heartfelt and funny and skilled and easy. It's easy to watch. It's just a delight to ride along with him. Steve Scott and I went and watched, and we're sitting there in the audience crying together, watching Phil do this, and the audience is laughing and having a great time. It's really a lovely experience.
Well, that's a great transition for my next question, which is, Phil, what made you want to tackle this one-person show that by all accounts seems to be I wouldn't say a monster of a show, but you're playing all the different characters. You got to make the worlds real for our audience. Tell me a little bit about why you decided to give yourself the opportunity to do it.
Yeah, I'd been kind of intrigued by solo shows for a while. I would say probably back to Spalding Gray's work. When I saw Swimming to Cambodia on video in the 80s at some point, I was just really taken by it. And I saw him, I think, twice at the Goodman when he came. So the idea of one person doing it, I was really, really taken by. So when Tom was doing Jacob Marley's Christmas Carol, I think I saw it the second year. At least the story I'm telling myself is that I saw it the first year. Oh, that might be interesting, and missed it, as one often does in theater in Chicago. You miss it. And then when you did it again, I was like, oh, we have to go. And so I was just so taken by as Tom says, almost just the actor transforming with all of these different characters and telling the story from a different angle, telling it slant. So it's this, I would agree also that Christmas Carol is a kind of founding myth of my life. And so to tell it a fresh version of that was so moving and hilarious and all of the wonderful things. And then my experience coming out of the old Goodman studio at as I recall it, the same time as the big Christmas Carol was getting out. So the lobby is filling with two audiences who have had 2 completely different experiences. And I really felt the sense of wonder of those of us who'd been in the studio versus the people coming out of the big one who were saying, "Do you see the size of that goose?" And I thought, yeah, I want I'll riff off what Tom said. I want the audience to have the goose in their mind. Right. That's the goose I want them to remember.
Right.
And so that idea of the audience being the final designer which is probably always true, but so clear in a world like this. So I loved it. Wonderful. So then I went off within a few months to my grad program. And so for my thesis project, I knew I wanted to do some kind of performance that was, now I was studying voice and speech pedagogy, so it had to be around the idea of voice and speech. So I was like, well, I will write my thesis around the vocal and physical transformations of playing all of these characters. If I can get the rights, how do I find them, etc. So I think I probably saw an ad in American Theater and contacted Mary Harden, I want to say. So it had not been published by dramatists yet. So I contacted Tom's agent. She sent me the script, and I didn't have any money. It's a classic Chicago theater moment. It was like, where can I do it? And a local theater, and this was in Richmond, Virginia. It was a theater called the Barksdale Theater. It was a theater in a strip mall, and they had a lobby that they had started doing what they called boogie nights. And the boogie nights were Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. They would take applications for somebody to come in and do a show in the lobby. So it was on a 6-inch raised platform, very small with an open bar. The idea being that they make money on the bar, right?
Yeah, get them drunk.
Yeah, that's right. Absolutely.
And so that's where I did. And so that's right. So I rehearsed it. One of the faculty members, Joe Sampson, directed me. It took me, I worked on it for 6 months. I remember in the summer, in June, I started working on the words and putting it together. And I did these 3 nights in this tiny little space. And it was fantastic. I had such a great time. The audience had a great time. And there were 2 interesting moments that convinced me that I kind of wanted to have do more theater like this. And one was that, oftentimes as an actor, you're at the curtain call and you bow, etc. And I often will wave. I'm not alone in that. Sometimes you wave to the audience. And so I waved at the audience, and this woman waved back. And I realized, we just had a relationship moment, right? Nice to see you. Thank you so much. And it was like that. It was just so personal. I was like, oh, wow, yeah. And then the other thing was the bartender who watched the show every night. By the 3rd night, by Wednesday, he said, I just have to tell you, he said, when you're in the graveyard and there are these 2 characters, he said, last night, he said, I really saw 2 people. I saw 2 people on that stage. And he said, and I'm not just buttering you up. He said, because I know that was in my imagination. My brain was seeing that. And so that sense of the audience being a part of it, that was really great. So then over the years, I've done it a couple of times in my hometown. And so then when Lifeline basically the way this production came about is through the pandemic, coming out of the pandemic, Lifeline, which I've been an ensemble member of for almost 20 years. We do literary adaptations. And we were just trying to figure out what are we going to, it's all new. It's all new. Yeah. What do we want to do? How do we want to do it? And we had once done a holiday show. And so I said, well, I don't know if we can get the rights, but I'd totally put this up if somebody would help me. And Elise Kozlarek said, yeah, I'll be your outside eyes. And Diane Fairchild did a great lighting design. So we did it last year. Audiences were very enthusiastic. I had a great time. So we're doing it again.
Well, I'm sad to say I have never seen it. I have the book that my wife purchased last holiday season, and I had Tom sign. So I'm honored to have that. And I loved it when I read it. But I know Tom you did a couple of readings just out of it. At a small venue, I think in Evanston a couple of years back. Rachel's got to see it. I've always been busy. So I'm really hoping to see it this year. And for people who are listening, Phil, please let us know the dates, where they can get tickets, all the information that we need to know where to find it this year.
Yeah, so we start the Friday after Thanksgiving, so that is the 29th. And it's through the Sunday before Christmas, which is the 21st. So it's Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday matinees.
Fantastic. And where can people get tickets?
Tickets would be at lifelinetheatre.com.
Well, I'm gonna double check my calendar. I really want to see when I can come check it out this year. Maybe I'll bring Tom with me. We'll see if he, he's seen it enough. But it's always nice to have the playwright there, and I can, give him, hey, that was great.
I've seen it a lot, and when we first did it, when I first put it out there, I actually flew around and I saw a lot of productions, and Phil's is one of the ones I've genuinely enjoyed.
Genuinely enjoy. That's a huge compliment, Phil.
It is.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh,
So,
I know.
How many years have you been doing it now, Phil, in total, from the first time you did it to now?
Well, I mean, I first did it, that would have been 2005. So I've done it 4 or 5 times over the last 20 years.
And it's a bear. It's a lot of damn words to learn.
Yeah. Yeah. When you've done it year after year, how many months in advance do you have to start? So do you have to go back and look at the script verbatim, or do you have it up there and you just kind of get it out of the database, as it were?
I definitely go back to the script because I'm just trying to be word perfect, if at all possible.
Yeah.
And so last year, it had been a big gap last year because I hadn't done it for probably close to 10, 15 years.
Okay.
So I started basically right after Labor Day, and I just kind of started working and, with the script, lying on my couch and then putting it on its feet. And then we had putting it into the Lifeline space, which has its own challenges. I had always done it in a proscenium setting, more or less above the audience. Like most prosceniums are kind of a bit raised.
Yeah. And
Lifeline is stadium seating, going up 10 rows. It's just 99 seats, but it is up. It's also quite wide and not very well. We were sharing the stage last year, and so we're just keeping the staging this year. But it's very wide and not very deep. And so again, Elise Kozleric from at the Lifeline Ensembles, she really helped me kind of figure out how the staging was going to work. And then Diane Fairchild did this dynamite lighting design. She won a Jeff Award for that last year, which she fully deserved. And
Phil's being modest. Phil was Jeff nominated last year.
Oh, wonderful.
So
now, I got to ask, you both have played the role. Any, what they like to call white room moments where like all of a sudden you just have no idea what's coming next, or any similar goofs or memories like that you want to share?
I have a couple. One I had is when I first did it in grad school, there was a moment where two characters it's kind of a transition moment. Something's going to shift. Uh-huh. And I definitely got lost. And one of the characters said, yeah, but it'll be fine. And I waited until I got, and I think I skipped maybe just a line or two, but there was a moment where I was like that. Yeah, I was really lost. And then the other one was, I was doing a rehearsal of it and recorded it a couple times from a couple different angles, right? Just so I could kind of have it for myself to look at. And in both of them, when playing, I can't remember which line it was, but basically rather than saying Marley, because I was speaking as Marley. Rather than saying Marley, I said Scrooge. I said the wrong character name both times. And so I'm like, how often have I been doing that? I really kind of freaked myself out a little bit. Like, have I been down that for 15 years?
I love the story where the one character tells the other character, it'll be fine. Like he's calming.
Yep.
That is brilliant. Tom, any moments like that for you that you
ever never had the blank spot in the tape? Thank God. When I was first performing it, I did the whole thing, the whole book. And Bob Falls made fun of me. He said, "Oh, you're tired of doing Scrooge, and now you're doing something that's like 20 minutes longer." And so we had some student matinees, and they're high school kids, and not everybody is interested in this old white man telling this story from the previous century. So what would often happen is that a number of students would come down to the front row, put on their winter coats, and take a nap. And that annoyed me.
I imagine.
And I told the stage manager if that happened again, I was going to start cutting. And it happened again, and I started cutting. And I just started just leaping to the next part of the story that needed to be told, and the next part of the story that needed to be told. All the cuts were good. I kept them all. I probably cut 20 minutes off of it for sure. So the play script is roughly about 80% of the book. There are some instances that in the book that are not in the play anymore. And my goal was to be able to finish my show and run through the back catacombs of the Goodman Theatre and take the curtain call with the Christmas Carol folks. And I got to do that once. The stage manager signaled me from the booth. Yes, they haven't taken their curtain call yet. And I ran all the way back and I stood in the back and I took a curtain call with the Christmas Carol folks.
Man, I can't imagine how you were self-editing in that moment, as good as the cuts wound up being.
It was just like, what does the story need to be told? What does the story demand that this part be told, or can I jump to this next thing that's essentially part of the plot or essentially part of Marley's progress as a human? So those are the two things that helped me edit it down. But it was funny looking up at the stage manager's booth and seeing the stage manager go, what? Seeing them do that was very funny.
I bet.
Tom, two thoughts about how the younger generation have influenced this piece. First of all, young Hazel should be getting a royalty. She was the one that kind of gave me that the idea to begin with. And then the students that were less than appreciative of the piece gave the idea of the materials to cut. So, you can't fault the younger generation because they helped you form the piece to be what it is today.
That's right.
Where can our listeners find both of you online? Are you present on social media at all?
Not me. Well, Facebook. That's where I am.
How about you, Phil?
I am on Facebook. I'm also on Instagram as Timberlake Phil and LinkedIn. And I have a website, philtimberlake.com.
Is that where people can go to learn about your classes as well?
For sure, yeah.
Excellent. Well, as I said, I hope to get to see Jacob Marley's Christmas Carol at Lifeline this season. If you're listening, please go get your tickets. We'll have a link to the tickets in our show notes. And Tom, Phil, I want to thank you both again for joining me here today. This was a super fun conversation. And I'm honored that you both took a little time out to talk to us.
Thanks, John. It was a lot of fun.
Such a privilege to be here. Thank you so much.
Thanks for joining us at the Chicago Theater Makers Podcast. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. The Chicago Theater Makers Podcast is a production of Spirit Art LLC, and our podcast theme music is by Paul Langford. If you or someone you know would like to be a guest on the podcast, please drop us a note at our website, ChiTheaterMakersPodcast.com. That's ChiTheater, makers with an S, podcast.com. We hope you enjoyed spending time with us as much as we enjoyed spending it with you, and we'll see you on the board soon.